Welcome to the instructional video on how to create an expense report for an employee in Chrome River. Once you have signed into the Chrome River system, you will be presented with the landing page. Verify that your name is displayed in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Select the plus new icon and select New Expense Report from the drop-down. The expense report header form will be displayed. Click on the report name field and enter a descriptive report name. Next, click in the business purpose field and enter a clear business purpose for the trip. In the report type field, select the drop-down and choose travel. Click on the calendar icon in the departure date field and select the appropriate departure date. Click on the calendar icon in the return date field and select the appropriate return date. Click on the destination field and begin typing the destination for your trip. The system will display all items that match what you have typed. Locate the correct value and select it. In the traveler type field, click the drop-down and select employee. In the travel type field, click the drop-down and select in-state. Now we are presented with a few questions. Are you attending a conference? Click the drop-down and select the appropriate value. The system displays a blue note reminding us to attach a copy of the agenda or schedule at a glance when we submit this report. The next question is, will there be personal time during this trip? If there is personal time included, select the checkbox and complete the two fields directly below. If personal time will not be included in the trip, leave the checkbox unselected. When ready, click the Save button in the upper right corner of the form. The Add Expenses page will slide in from the right. The expense types are consolidated into categories called expense tiles. Some expense tiles expand to provide additional expense options. For this example, we are going to enter a conference registration expense. So click the Conference Registration Training tile. This will open up the Conference Registration Training form. In the date field, select the calendar icon and select the appropriate date. In the spent amount, we will enter how much we spent on the conference registration. Notice the business purpose defaulted in from the header. We can add to this or edit it. The description field is optional for most expense types. We have a checkbox in case a personal expense was charged on a WSU issued P card. If that happened, you would select the checkbox, enter the amount of the personal charge and a brief description. Then you would bring a reimbursement to financial operations. For this example, we will leave the box unselected. The merchant field will populate from any P card transactions that are added to the report. This field is optional for most all expense types. The next field is the Add Banner Activity and/or Location. If your department utilizes these fields, you will click the Select box and choose the appropriate value. Otherwise, you will leave the box unselected. In the Funding section, begin typing the fund, org, or department name and select the appropriate value once it appears below the box you are typing in. Click in the Select box and choose the appropriate account code from the list provided. Now we will scroll to the bottom of the page and select the Add Attachments button. From the options presented, we will select Upload Attachments. This will open up the Explorer on your computer and you can navigate to where you have saved your receipts. Select the appropriate receipt, click Open, and the receipt will now be attached to the expense form. When finished, click Save in the upper right corner. Notice the expense has been added on the left side of the screen to our expense report. To create the next expense, we will go back to the right side of the screen, click the ground transportation tile, and select mileage private vehicle from the list. The mileage private vehicle form will be displayed. Notice the date populated from our previous expense that we entered. The spent amount is grayed out. Our description field is optional, and our mileage rate is populated by the system. In the miles field, you will click the Calculate Mileage link located to the right. This will open up the mileage feature within Chrome River. Click in the top field and enter the address that you are leaving from. Now click in the second field and enter the address of your destination. If you have additional destinations, you can click the Add Destination button. Clicking the Return to Start button will add another entry that will calculate the mileage back to your beginning location. When finished, click the Save Trip button in the upper right corner. We are now returned to the mileage private vehicle form. Please note that the amount spent is now populated. In the description, the system has populated our destinations. In the mileage field, the system has entered the calculated mileage. Scroll down to the funding section and notice that the funding we selected on the previous expense tile has populated. If you need to select different funding, you will merely click on the field. When it is highlighted, you will click the Delete button and you will begin searching again. Click in the Select field to display the list of account codes and select the appropriate account code. For mileage, we do not have to add any attachments, so we will click Save in the upper right corner of the form. You will notice the mileage expense has been added to the left side of the form. If you click on that expense, we can review the information we entered, but also notice that the system has saved a PDF of our map associated with this trip. Click the black X to hide the image, and now click the Circle Plus button to display the Add Expenses screen. Next, we will click the Hotel tile to add our hotel expense. On the hotel form, we want to make sure that we add the date that is listed on our hotel invoice. For this example, we will select July 22nd. In the spent amount, we will enter the total amount spent on our room, including all taxes and fees. In the allowable total area, we will click the Calculate link to the right-hand side to open up our Calculate Allowable Total form. We will click the calendar icon for the departure date and select the appropriate departure date. We will click the calendar icon for the end date and select the end date of our trip. We will click in the location field and enter our location. If you have previously entered the location, the system will remember your earlier entries, and those will be noted by this little icon to the left of the location. Click in the Rooms field and enter the number of rooms. Notice the system has calculated the number of nights based on the date range entered. The system displays the average daily room rate, or GSA rate, and then at the bottom we have the allowable total. Click Save in the lower right corner. Notice that the allowable total amount has been filled in based on the information we entered on the Calculate form. Our business purpose carried forward from the previous tile and can be updated. The description field is optional. The merchant field is required for hotels, so we will enter the merchant. The check-in and check-out dates have populated from the header of the expense report. If they are incorrect, you can modify them. You will notice in the funding section that our funding carried forward from our last expense. Click in the select box and select the appropriate account code from the listing. Now we will click the Add Attachments button. We will click Upload Attachments, and we will attach our hotel bill. Once the bill has been uploaded, we will click on it so that we can view it, and we will click the Itemize button in the upper right corner. The system now displays the Add Itemization page. We are first going to click the Hotel Lodging tile. Our date populated in from our previous screen. In the Spent field, we will enter the amount spent for our room charge. The description is optional, and our check-in and check-out dates have populated from the earlier page. Our funding is carried forward from the previous page, and we can see our attachment. We're going to click Save in the upper right corner, and we return to the Add Itemization page. The system shows that we have a remaining $2.36 to itemize for this expense. We will now click the Hotel Taxes and Fees tile. In the amount spent, we will enter the amount associated with our state occupancy tax. We will leave the description blank, and all of our other information carried forward from the previous tile. We will click Save. We will click the X on our image. You will notice that the hotel expense has been added to the left side of the report. It is displayed with a parent row and two child rows. We can collapse or expand those rows by clicking the black arrow. You will notice down in the lower left-hand corner we now have an expense report ID, previously known as a TR number. To the right of that we have the total pay me amount, and to the right of that we have the green Submit button. Click the green Submit button, and the system will display the Submit Confirmation page. Below that is a summary of the expense report that was just entered, and at the bottom it will display all the attachments that are on the report. If you need to add additional attachments, you can click the Add Attachments button. At the top of the page you have three options. To cancel, we can add a pre-approval report, or we can submit the report. When you are ready, click Submit, and the report will be submitted for approvals. Thank you.